Hello everybody, I'm Michael Renouard, French name, but Danish all the way. I thought I maybe could end up in Norway, but I miss Copenhagen, and I'm going back in a month. I don't know what to do yet in Copenhagen, so if you have a job opening somewhere, then we can talk afterwards. Yes. So it's every 2 or 3 years I have a lecture, so I will do the best I can, and it's not in my own language, so you have to excuse the Danish accent. Everybody is teasing the Danes for speaking English with a bad accent. So what I'm going to do now is culminating with a cupping afterwards. We have been sponsored generously by Trabucca with 2 coffees. 1 coffee for the comparative roasting later on. But the next cupping we're going to have is an unwashed Guji coffee from Sidamo that we have been roasting. We have an old roasting, 5 days, and a new roasting, roasted yesterday. Roasted both of them on 2 different roast machines. A ProBat 120 and a Smart Roast 35 or 30. We only go up to 30 kilo on that one. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our experience with the Smart Roast, and also about the ProBat that we normally use and always have as a preference for everything we do. Everywhere is ProBat machines. I've been working on more machines than you said. When Kontra had a fire, I was to blame for that. I was roasting on another ProBat in Fyn, a new one, and I have a lot of experience on different sizes and different machines. So it's very helpful to become a good roaster to roast as many machines as possible. So what I'm going to do is only to, as an observer, we're not scientists at Solberg Hansen, but we're trying to get the full flavor out of the coffee. We're trying to work with the coffee and not against it. So we have just been playing around with with a Smart Roast that we acquired just before the last Nordic Roaster in Oslo, held in Oslo last year, and we decided to buy it, and we've been very happy using it. So you introduced me, and I will briefly introduce Solberg Hansen. Solberg Hansen is by far the largest roaster in Norway, and they have 62% of the specialty coffee market in Norway. I don't know what the specialty coffee market is. I have been asking, but it's for cafes and maybe the Horeca people. It's not what people drink at home, of course. 62% is a lot, and we produce 600 ton a year. So that's pretty much for specialty coffee. And we just hired some other packers. We are expanding. So now we are 1 roast trainee, because I'm leaving, 4 roasters including me, and then 2 packers. So we are 7 people at the roastery. We have 2 huge 120 kilo ProBat roasters, 1 new, 1 old, a manual and a more automated one. And then we got the Smart Roast that we took the UG22 out, an old ProBat, and put in the Smart Roast. And on that little machine, we only roast the best coffees, the coffees that we care for more than other coffees, like the Solberg Hansen espresso, which is like a signature espresso. We got other fine espressos, but it depends how much we sell of these coffees. So the idea at Solberg is that the coffee, when it's two weeks old, it's too old to sell for us. So then we degrade it to other kinds of coffee that we have a more reasonable kilo price for, you know, for pensionists and bingo halls and stuff like that. And they don't need signature espressos or anything. They just need good, clean, freshly roasted coffee. So this is our smart roast. You can see it out back, where your clothes is hanging. It's just beside that, so you have probably looked at it. That's the smart roast, and that's the old 120 ProBat. They're not easy comparable, so we only compare the taste of the coffee that comes out of these roasters. So this is a big one, and the smallest batch I could roast was 40 kilos, so I had to acquire quite a lot of coffee from Menno in order to make a good roast. And of course I didn't succeed the first time, so I used every coffee bean, and I succeeded in the end, because the coffees we are about to taste, they have the same colorette, the same color, in order to compare them as much as possible. And so I had one color with the ProBat. I roasted it and it was fine, and then I had to roast it for the same degree of lightness and color on the Smart afterwards. So I wrote it down for you, so it's easy for me, easy for you to read this board here. I told you all this, and this is not a commercial for Smart Roast, but I have been along the way, and we are, all of us at Solberg, very fascinated by what it can do, and we like to play around. We like toys, smartphones, iPads, smart roasts. So it's funny when you get a new toy like this and you really want to learn it, to know how you do and what it can do with the coffee. So this is only an observation lecture, and we made a lot of trial and error, a lot of errors, and that is what we do. We try a lot, and even though when I screw 60 kilos of the finest Kenya up, we don't sell it as a dark roast Kenya. We sell it as a bingo coffee, bingo hall coffee, and then I have a bad stomach the rest of the day, because these coffees are fantastic, or Ethiopian coffees. So we have the chance to play around with the coffees and to cup every day. So we cup the production, not so much the espresso, but mainly the filter coffees. We have a laboratory, and we have the space there to do it. So we are craftsmen. We're not artists. I think we are craftsmen, because we have to do the same job over and over again. We have to continue doing what we do. When we like the roast, we need to replicate it as much as possible. And the coffee change, and the season change, and whether there is low pressure or high pressure outside, I think it affects the coffee. Maybe more on the ProBat, because it's another system. The Smart Roast is like the hot air is pushed in the drum. The drum is almost oxygen free, and the ProBat is sucking the hot air through the beans. And also the cooling. When the cool air comes in, if it's cold outside, it cools very effectively, and the pyrolysis stops in the beans, and you have a cleaner taste in the beans, I think. So we have a very big responsibility, because we are the second last thing that can go wrong. the barista or the home brewer can foul up one last time, but we have a huge responsibility to succeed in the roasting. I'm a wine guy. I've been more than 11 years in the wine trade, and I brought my passion from wine to coffee. I kind of lost magic with wine. After I spent 3 years in France, it went down. I don't know. So now I'm more into cheese and coffee. But selling wine is good. You meet a producer that you like, and he's a sympathetic guy, and he's making a great product. You buy a pallet of his wine, and you take it home, open the box, sell the bottle, and you found the wine. And maybe you are the only guy in your country that sells the wine, so if people like it, they come to you. But with coffee, I'm part of the product, and for the first time, I really feel that I am doing something right, because I cannot build a house, I cannot even change the floor or anything. So I'm not a craftsman in that respect. But when I make coffee, I feel like I'm creating something. And I feel like a demigod, because I am creating something great that people like, they can talk about it. My mom likes it, you like it, everybody has an opinion about coffee. And people who don't like coffee are strange. So I am creating something really unique, and I like that, even though it's the same over and over again, day in and day out. It's hard to explain why I like it so much. So we need good tools, and the ProBat has been a fantastic tool, and the Loring Smart Roast, with that I feel that the playing around has been stepped up a little notch, because it can do so much. We compared it with the coffees from the ProBat UG22 and the Smart Roast, and Morten Vennersgaard, who used to be the buyer of coffee at Solberg Hansen through many years, a very talented guy, and he will be back with a vengeance very soon. I guess he's in Africa right now, getting a lot of experience and contracts. I don't know, but he's. I'm following him on Facebook as good as I can. He started roasting on the Smart Roast, and then my boss Simo did it, and then Audun and I started with the Smart Roast, because when you have a new roaster, you start from scratch. You cannot transfer any temperatures or anything. You need to see what it does to the coffee. And also we heard that Damateo and George Howell in Terroir Coffee, they had the Smart Roast. So a lot of good people had already had experience with this roaster. So we thought, what the hell? We have a very good financing. We sell a lot of coffee, so we had the money to buy it. It's a little bit expensive. So I feel that the way we make coffees is not the way they like coffees in Denmark, for example, or Sweden. We like the coffee very light, and that is what we have been using our roasters for, making light coffee. So I don't really know how it is when you make a pitch black coffee. But this guy, Oliver Strand, who was in Oslo not so long ago, he mentioned that for fun, that in Oslo they just take the coffee out of the jute bag and then they put it in the grinder, and they almost don't roast the coffee. That's the way they like their coffee. But he was converted, and he went home really liking the style that we have in Norway, maybe especially in Oslo. So when he says that, and he's correct, because I feel the same way, that our coffees are thirst quenching. They are juicy, very fruity, very acidic, and these characteristics is very easy to find when you roast on the Smart Roast. You see. So what we have as the main tool is firstly we have the roasters, and secondly we have our taste buds. So I just feel that to find the goal is to find the better roast and to replicate it over and over again. And we roast maybe 6.5 tons of coffee on a busy day, and maybe 3-4 tons on a normal day. So normally we use the big roasters. I'm a little stuck. To make the quantum, to make our goal, to make what do you call it? Our main coffee. Okay, I start all over. I go to the next page. Okay. So, what is the Smart Roast doing compared to the ProBud? We don't know. So if I go back, I have a lot of questions, and I don't have all the answers, and you have a lot of questions also. But when you talk to coffee people, everybody is searching for something. And when we have the coffee, we cup it, then something, we feel that something happens with the coffee, whether it's coming from one machine or the other. And some of the things is the endothermic reaction, the Maillard reaction, exothermic reaction, which is, as I know it, the same thing as the pyrolysis, where the beans start burning from within, and I don't know where the difference of the roasters kick in. Is it a prolonged Maillard reaction? Is it the way that the heat is applied to the beans? Because we try to roast the coffees in the same way. We have a drying phase of the coffees to start with. Then we have the Maillard reaction, and then you can dwell with the temperatures around there if you have natural coffees or washed coffees. And then when the first crack kicks in, then you have the exothermic reaction and the pyrolysis starts. And we don't know what the difference is, but you can taste it all in a few minutes. So my question also is to the smart guys, to Ron, to Mark, but they are more producers of machinery than they are roasters. So it's difficult to get the right answer that I can work with. So yeah, it's all in the cup, really. As we know it, there are 3 different kinds of heat application to the beans, and that is convection heat, and they are both the Smart and ProBud convection roasters. One is the hot air is pushed into the drum. The other is it's a vacuum, like from the stack, from the cyclone that pulls the hot air through the beans. And then you have the heat conduction, where you have the direct contact with the drum and the other beans, and the molecules that vibrate. Don't ask a lot of questions about this. This is something I wrote. It's not very clear to me what's happening, because otherwise I would have had a brilliant career as a scientist. And then radiation heat. Apparently everything is radiating heat. So I am radiating infrared heat to you guys and you to me. So these are basically the 3 different types of heat application there is. And they both do the same thing. The Smart has a non-moving drum, and you have the paddle in between that turns the beans around, and the Probat has like a welded-on paddle or a pattern that brings the beans in motion inside a rotating drum. Okay, so we were blown away by the cleaner cup with the Smart Roast, and when we want to impress somebody, like the coffees for this event was all roasted almost at the Smart Roast, and also because it's a small batch roaster. And it's not so much for espresso maybe, but the espresso has got a little less body, we think. But for filter, it's quite pronounced the difference in quality. But what I like is not necessarily what you guys like. So it's just whether you prefer one taste or the other is of course up to you. Because sometimes I like the Probat taste better, and sometimes I like the Smart. But now I have learned by practice, I've learned to separate those two, and now I find that there is a distinct difference. So, what is very good and useful is that it seems like on the Smart Roast there is a wider sweet spot in the coffee. If you go a little bit too light, it's still really sweet, and if you go a little bit too dark, it's still good. Where you have to be more precise with the Probat to have an excellent coffee. When we cup the coffee, we give it a score from 1 to 10, by 5 being the lowest score, where we still can sell the coffee. But it's under doubt, but we think it's okay to sell. And then the 6 and 7 are the way the coffees should be. And 8 and 9 is fantastic coffees. And then we skip the old profile. And if we had a change, we take the new coffee and use the profile for that as a reference for the next coffees we roast. The transparency is very convincing. It's simply a clear tasting coffees, but maybe you guys think that something is missing in the coffees, some burnt components maybe, or smokiness, or I don't know, the things that you are used to being in the coffee that you look as quality. So these coffees are very clean, and maybe it's too much, but I like it, and because we like it, we want to sell the coffee like that, and then you can like it or not. That's a good thing about Solberg Hansen, because we have other good coffees. We have around 80 to 100 different coffees we roast, so we have a huge work finding out profiles for every coffee. And then we need to change them as the coffee changes over the season. Whereas small roasteries with 5-10 coffees, they have a much easier job. So that's really a good thing at Solberg Hansen, to be able to taste and roast really a lot of different coffees. So if I have to come up with a theory why there is a difference. I must say that the ProBat is a very old machine. It's oil-fired roaster, an oil-fired roaster, but the other one is a gas-fired roaster, and it could be that the combustion from the flame could be adding something to the beans that is slightly unpleasant when you know what to look for. Of course, the coffee is great and clearly drinkable, and that unpleasant thing that is applied will slowly diminish, and finally you will hardly be able to taste it later on. So it's only for a period of time, but it's during that time we like our coffee to be drunk in. That is critical, and so if you have the coffee 6 months on a shelf, you won't be able to taste the difference anyway. The coffee is from Smart. We think appears more naked, fresh, and very sweet. And some, not all of us like it. We had a cupping a couple of days ago, and some liked the ProBat, some liked the Smart. But it's also about experience, about your sensitivity, your palate, and also your physical state, whether you're stressed or tired. So I find that I'm a very poor taster after lunch, and I prefer to taste. Sorry?
If you don't mind, I just want to a quick question.
Yes.
Is there a possibility with the Smart roaster that you can play with the smoke inside?
No. Some has told me that there's a lot of smoke inside because it reuses the hot air, but I don't find it an issue at all. I can't find it. So mainly American roasters, which prefer darker roasts, maybe they have a smoke issue. I'm not really sure, but we don't have a smoke issue at all. But you can't, no, not to my knowledge. But we only had this complicated roaster for a year, so maybe there's a ton of other possibilities to play around with it, but we use it, and we use the programs to automate our profiling under strict supervision from the roaster, of course. So Solberg Hansen, we roast fast, and we roast because when you roast fast, you need to do it with higher temperatures. We want a lot of fruitiness in the coffee to be created and to be left in the beans and not caramelized. And both of our roasters, all our roasters, have a very effective cool down of beans, and that's really crucial for fantastic coffee. That where you don't want any baked notes. So if you roast it correctly, you can bake the coffee by simply cooling the coffee too slow. So we have tested all our roasters, and they roast. They cool a full batch in 4 minutes from over 200 degrees Celsius down to 40 degrees in 4 minutes. So if your roaster is slower than 4 minutes, you should maybe clean the ventilating motor, maybe clean the cooling tray, or maybe buy another motor, maybe look into your stack, maybe it's too long, it's too bent, too much resistance. But I find that if I'm ever going to be a roaster on my own, I need a place where you have a stack directly up, or at least with a very little resistance, and the cooling is really, really crucial, if you ask me. And what comes from a faster cooling also, and from a very fast roasting, is also that you get a little less strength and body, but then you can always add some coffees from with another taste profile. So if you think that the Kenya you have got, for example, you roast it and you think it's too light, maybe you can choose another Kenya because it's got some qualities that we like. So maybe it's missing out on something else, but it's kind of a compromise, I think. So we have a lot of small batches of fine Kenya coffee and also of fine Ethiopian coffee. They are quite big batches, but because we are a big company, we use the coffees quite fast. So when you look at our homepage, you can see the Kenya we had last week or last month is not there anymore. Now there's a new one coming in because we are selling them fast. So that's that is really my lecture here. Can you help me back? It's not necessary. It's not important. So I've been talking a lot now, and maybe afterwards you have questions. But in a little while we will taste these coffees because the roasting, the cupping later on is with the washed coffees. I required a unwashed coffee for this next cupping with good fruity tones, and the natural coffees from Ethiopia is really heavy. They can be too heavy. So I try to dress it a little differently. I try to pull it a little down in personality to make it more interesting, because otherwise you can you can drink a cup of it and then you cannot drink the whole pot of coffee because it's too much, it's too powerful. So all the coffees that comes from Solberg Hansen this weekend are very light, maybe lighter than you are used to. I'm sure about that actually. But very fruity, very acidic, and very pronounced, and less animal dung, manure, and more freshness. No, but it's really good. You just need to take this product and handle it carefully. So I think I've been really lucky, because when I tested it first on the trial roaster, it was like, whoa, my God, that's bad. But then when we started roasting it the real way, it was, oh my God, that's really good. So there was a big change. So you always need to clean the roaster. Yeah, exactly. And I would also say about cleaning the roaster, maybe when I'm comparing the new stainless steel roaster with the old ProBat, it can also be, I don't know, we don't know. It can be that the inside of the drum needs to be cleaned. But we think that is the combustion, that is the flame that is kind of contaminating the beans on the ProBat. But we will hopefully find out sooner, hopefully sooner than later. So I think the cupping is more or less ready. So now we have the questions.
I just have a short question.
Yes.
Do you have any experience in, well, I've been told that there might be, when you roast on a smart roast, that the flavor of the coffee fades faster than if you roast on the comparative versus the roller roast. Do you have any experience?
How fast? Do you know that? I haven't tried that, but maybe in a 1 month old coffee or 2 month, I don't know, because we only have the coffees 2 weeks before it leaves the building, or it dies. So I can't tell you that, but I know that quenched coffees can get stale and get really bad faster, but with this I have no experience with that. Sorry. Yes?
Talk about the cleanliness in the cup. Is there one of the things I noticed last year during the Nordic Roaster Day was there was when we cupped the coffees last year on the Smart and the ProBat, we compared. You talked about cleanliness, but last year at least I found there was a big difference in mouthfeel. The ProBat coffee seems to be much more more like a broth, more like umami, whereas the Smart Roast coffees tended for me to be a lot lighter in the body. And have you noticed any clear difference now that you know how to roast on it properly?
I think the last cupping said it all when we had it 3 days ago. It's like with the Probat mouthfeel. It's like the coffee is in different layers, and there is a slightly cellulose taste to it, something added. Whereas the Smart Roast was sweeter, maybe a little bit too sweet to be complex, but because it was only a 2-day-old coffee, then it was mainly sweet. But I think that was not in layers. That was a round bubble of sweetness, and then the complexity normally shows up after a few days more. Also depending on which coffee it is. I find the Ethiopian coffees, especially with the washed Jägerchefs, that they are best in their second week, and not very convincing the first days. It's like they melt together. It's like they reach some molecular understanding, and it gets more complex, like good wine. Is that answering your question? You have another one?
Yes, I have another one, because one of my issues with the old Probat that I have is it takes a whole day to clean, and it's still not efficiently cleaned. Now that you've been roasting a lot on the Smart Roast, is it easy to clean all the pipes, and how do you do that? How much time do you spend on it?
We have big roasters and short arms, so we can't reach to the end of the drum, and the cooling tray doesn't allow me to put my head in and scrub the drum, so we don't clean at all. Sorry to say, and that's maybe why the coffee is like that. I don't know, but I'm really on the Probat, yes. And basically, you're not allowed to put your arms in, so the opening is therefore quite small, and it's difficult if you're not a snake person. So we never do it. We clean the cooling tray, and when we clean as much as we can. So maybe that could be part of the solution.
What about the Smart Roast? Is it easy to clean?
No, it's not easy to clean. You can take the hatch off. You can take it off, and then it's easy to clean. But when we look inside, it's pretty neat inside still. So it's only the pedal that takes a little what do you call it, chef or burned. So you don't need. We have seen it from the inside recently, and it didn't need it cleaning at all. So that's pretty good.
And the pipelines?
Yeah, because of the it's not an afterburner that's on a Smart Roast. It's something else. It's a very hot flame, and all the air escaping in the stack is heated up over 500 degrees. Jens told me today, so even though with the smallest flame available, 20% of its stepless fire, then it will take the smoke and the odor, I think most of it, and it disappears, and the stack is almost squeaking clean. Also because it's an insulated stack, so you don't have a lot of condensation. Normally, if you have condensation, you have things that sticks to that also. So normally, when I worked at Kontra, they have another kind of stack, and they have cleaning every 3 months, also to prevent fires, and also to prevent a better airflow through that. So when we moved the Smart Roast from the other side to the other side of the hall, we have a big hall at Solberg Hansen. Then we dismantled the stack, and it was really clean and neat. So no problem there. So for lazy people, it's good also. Yeah. So do you guys have any other questions? I hope that I have been giving you an interest in looking at the smart roast, what it can. I'm really amazed by it. One of the dislikes about this roaster is a little bit expensive. So when you are a small upcoming roaster and you want to start for yourself, you can you don't have an unlimited budget, and maybe it's not the first roaster you buy, maybe the second, but you should consider having one, because it's a fun thing to do and have, because it can do everything from manual to automatic runs, consistently roasting, and it's just nice. Recommended. Okay, thanks for me, and now we have the cupping.